Can you give us a Federal Reserve one-on-one? What exactly is the Federal Reserve, and what is its charge?
The creation of the government, essentially to control the money supply. And it is governed by a set of big banks that essentially dictate the money supply. Now, the governors are appointed, the actual, decision makers are appointed. The president makes nominations, they're confirmed by the Senate. Currently, there are 3 vacancies on the board of governors for the Fed. And
One of
Congress
those, if I'm not mistaken, one of those nominees is the first Black woman ever,
absolutely
Lisa Cook, to potentially be a governor on the Federal Reserve.
exactly Lisa Cook, tremendous candidate. And then there's a chairperson. Jerome Powell is currently the chairperson, holdover from the prior administration, responsible for essentially leading the Fed and leading Fed policy at this point. The main tool that the Fed has, not the only tool, but the main tool that the Fed has to control the money supply is interest rates. And I should say here, generally speaking, the Fed has 2 mandates. This is why controlling the money supply matters, is to achieve their mandate. The mandate is to achieve price stability in the economy and to maximize employment.
So say that again. So to achieve price stability, so is that meaning making sure cost of things and services don't rise enormously, what we now know as inflation, because we've been living through it the last year or so. And then you said the second is maximizing employment. So the charge of the Federal Reserve is to use whatever tools in its arsenal to ensure that the most amount of people who can work. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, more or less, but you get the sense here, right, that these are pretty fluid. Like how you define maximum employment, how you define price stability. There is no, it's in part a political decision, right? It is how you answer that question is a product of the political and economic environment that you're in.
But we don't elect the Federal Reserve people. We have little political voice around what the Fed does.
Besides congressional oversight, there's little direct voice that we have in influencing the Fed. That being said, there has been much more popular movement as of late in the last several years to hold the Fed more directly accountable, particularly to its mandate to ensure maximum employment. So groups like Fed Up, which is a campaign of the Center for Popular Democracy, has done tremendous work to both popularize the Fed, make it much more accessible to people, to the point of even sending, the Fed would retreat to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and bring bankers and all the other, industry folks that are around the banks, for a retreat in Jackson Hole, as a resort out in Wyoming, to talk about all kinds of things, and thinking that they were just sort of away, from the riffraff, but Fed Up actually decided, what, we're going to go to Jackson Hole, and they're going to need to talk to us. This was sort of a kickoff of this campaign. And over the years, Fed Up has been able to work with grassroots organizations to start to affect not only the conversations that the Fed were having, force them to really reckon with the maximum employment mandate, but even trying to affect the people who are nominated on some of the regional banks of the Fed, and then who ultimately then get appointed to the Fed board. So it's really tremendous campaign, really important one, because the Federal Reserve plays such an important role, not the only entity in the economy that affects the labor market, but certainly one of the most important ones that has been the most obscure for so long.